Council Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, October 26, 2002. Can we rise and have a pledge of allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have a roll call for the City Council, please, Judy?
Parker?
Present.
Applegate? Martina? Fantasia?
Present.
Mayor Reed?
Present.
Could we have a roll call for the Planning Commission, please?
Commissioner Meyer?
Present.
Atwood? Wallace? Ford?
Present.
Chairperson Allen?
Present.
Okay, first is items from the public on non-agenda items. While the City Council welcomes and encourages participation in the meetings, it would be appreciated if you would limit your comments to 3 minutes so that everyone may be heard. Matters under the jurisdiction of the Council not on a posted agenda may be addressed by the general public at this time. However, California law prohibits the Council from taking action on any matter which is not on a posted agenda unless it's determined to be an emergency by the City Council. And Debbie does this so well. I'm going to let her read the second.
Oh, thank you. Items from the public, agenda items. Any member of the audience desiring to address the council in a matter on the agenda, please raise your hand or step to the podium at the time the item is announced by the mayor. In order all interested parties have an opportunity to speak, any person addressing the council will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes unless the mayor grants a longer period of time. And the first time you address the council commission, we need your name and address for the record, and you will need to step to the podium so we can get you on the tape. Thank you.
Item number 5 is study session. 5A is a presentation by Doug Lucas of Lucas Holdings LP regarding development proposal east of Canal School Road and south of Hills Ferry Road, approximately 550 acres. Mr. Borchard.
I'm Bob Borchard. I'm the planning guy here in the city of Newman. As a practice, what we do is when we have a big project like this, before we go through all the process of getting an application and starting it in a formal way, we kind of have a workshop to go over with the council and the commission the implications of it. This is a more complicated project than I think that's ever been proposed in the city for several reasons, and I'll go through those in a minute. So what I'd like to do is maybe just give a quick brief introduction to what we're getting into here, and then the actual presentation by Mr. Lucas with respect to the project specifics that are going to be proposed. This is supposed to work. The project has 3 components, and some of you are aware of the issue of Inyo Avenue and the general plan amendment request along Inyo Avenue from industrial to residential. There's the Stanford Rose Ranch, which is immediately this has a point on it. Immediately to the west of the city, or excuse me, the east of the city. And then there is the Dunkley property, which is right in this area. This is the Inyo piece of property. This map shows the city, the incorporated city. This is the city's wastewater map. This is the county of Merced, County Stanislaus boundary. This is in Merced County. And this is area right in here is our sphere of influence, our overall growth area. You'll note that most of this project on the Merced County line is outside of our sphere of influence, of course, because that's not an area we can annex. Our tradition has been, though, we're working with Merced County, we have had cooperative agreements with the county. So the issues that'll come up as part of the review of this project is the growth, the development direction that we want to see that growth take place inside of our sphere of influence, and probably the biggest issue of concern to the developer, of course, is the process that we're going to be going through. With respect to growth, we've had a presentation that we did with the City Planning Commission a while back, where we talked about growth projections, economic and regional factors driving growth, and growth rates, growth management. I'll get this down yet. What we did was we looked at some of the West Side growth cycles. You'll notice that this is the city of Tracy here. This is the city of Los Banos. Down here we have Patterson, and way at the bottom is the city of Gustine and the city of Newman. Bringing that into a little bit closer focus, you can notice over time what's been happening in the West Side growth is that Patterson took off in the 1970s, 1980s. City of Newman and city of Gustine have started a growth cycle that may or may not mirror Patterson. And when we talked about growth before, we talked about location, proximity to Highway 5, for instance, and how it drives growth, as opposed to Gustine and Newman, which are less accessible from Highway 5 or Interstate 5, and how that affects the overall growth of this area. These are, well, I won't get into that much. Development direction, the general plan update process that we're working on now, future needs for commercial, industrial, and residential lands, constraints that we're dealing with respect to access, circulation, ag preservation. We have a new farmland map out by the Department of Conservation, which indicates where our constrained soils are and where we're supposed to be looking at not putting growth. And utilities, sewer, water, drainage, that sort of thing. But probably most important for most people is the issue that the Planning Commission's been struggling with and has been part of our general plan tradition here in the city, and that's the quality of life issue, how to maintain a small town environment. For Mr. Lucas and his development, the entitlement process is going to involve a specific plan. We have done other projects, most projects in the city over the past few years with initial studies and mitigated negative declarations, but a project of this scale and scope, I would expect a CEQA document like an environmental impact report is going to be required. General plan land use map amendment, a rezoning, a subdivision map, and an annexation. These last four have been more or less traditional in terms of how we've processed development or new annexations into the city in the past. LAFCO is a big participant in this process. As I mentioned earlier, a big portion of this project is outside of our primary sphere, which means that we're going to have to expand our primary sphere. We have a primary and a secondary sphere. That area there has been expanded almost out to its primary boundaries. The secondary sphere, which is the second tier of 20-year growth that LAFCO originally approved, requires us to go back to LAFCO for a major decision, which will require us to update our sphere of influence, which is going to be a complicated process because of some new laws that went into effect last year. Also, the project, a big portion of the project is outside of our overall sphere of influence because it's in the county of Merced, which is going to involve us getting together with the county and doing a joint powers agreement for municipal services in that area. The update of the sphere of influence requires some fairly, and I expected Fran Sutton-Bernardi to be here tonight from LAFCO to maybe answer questions that you might have about that. But generally speaking, we're going to, because of some new water laws, we're going to have to put together an urban water management plan. We're going to have to do a master services plan for LAFCO. And we're, of course, the sphere update itself is to reevaluate our sphere boundaries with respect to the 20-year future growth build-out expectations for the city. Those are the processes that we're going to be buying into when this, if and when this application is submitted. Like I said, it's a big project. Has three components to it that are going to be taken on in series, and Mr. Lucas, I think, can go through and do that in a little more detail. I'm going to turn the podium over to Mr. Lucas. If you have any questions of me, thank you.
I have a quick question. How realistic, with what you just explained, particularly I have a clear understanding of our sphere of influence, our secondary sphere of influence. how realistic, with the restrictions that LAFCO has put into place now with sphere of influences, is it for us to look at this, the mitigating circumstances?
Well, I think that whether or not this proposal would fly in LAFCO, is that the question?
That's the question, basically.
Well,
I mean, we need their prior approval before we would proceed.
The city is the applicant before LAFCO, and ultimately LAFCO has the final word as to how big the city is going to be. That's kind of an interesting little situation
Yeah.
that's established by law. It's a political organization. It doesn't have to make findings and rules, and the people in LAFCO can make decisions in any way they want. I really can't speak to what their particular political makeup is right now, and their attitudes of growth have been very conservative. But at the same time, they have given deference to cities with respect to how they wish to develop.
The city themselves.
The big issue is going to be with LAFCO in terms of how we maintain our overall sphere of influence, not our primary, but our secondary sphere boundary, because that's that 26,000 or so population area, which we defined as the ultimate build out of the city, how big we want to be. As a presentation I did a while back, that number was put together to carve out an urban area for infrastructure planning. It wasn't a growth objective for the city to be 26,000 people. If you decide that the city is going to expand in a compact form into this area, that area would accommodate 26,000 people. At the present time, the city of Newman is about 8,000. We have probably enough development on the books to push it up to about 10,000. One of the issues that's going to come up as part of this process is that our wastewater facilities and some of our other infrastructure is going to have to be expanded to accommodate any more development, whether it be this project or others as well. And anyway, I hope that answered your question. I
That's
can't
fine,
tell you
Bob.
what LAFCO is going to do.
Robert's taller than me. I'm Doug Lucas, and I represent the Lucas family properties and the Dunkley family properties, which as of tomorrow morning are all going to be one. That transaction will be completed by tomorrow morning, and these properties that we are looking at, with the exception of Canal School Ranch, all belong equally and shared between the Dunkley family and the Lucas family. So that this project now, at least in that ownership, becomes real. We own this 550 acres, the Dunkley family and Lucas family. But what we're talking about tonight, and I'd very much like to thank the council and the planning commission and the staff for having this meeting and allowing us to present this. Thank you very much. A lot of work's gone into it to get it to this point. We have the Canal School Ranch subdivision, which will be separate, in a manner speaking, from the other two, which are Stanford Road subdivision and the Lucas Dunkley properties. Now as it stands, and the proposed golf course and the residential neighborhoods. The Stanford Rose and the Lucas Dunkley are now under same ownership, and that would be Lucas and Dunkley. That closes tomorrow. Canal School Ranch is a 64-lot subdivision, owned 43 lots by the Lucas Family Trust, 21 lots by Irwin Stein Press. So while Robert is very right, they are all connected. This project is already in the city limits, the city of Newman, zoned industrial. These two are not. So we'll take this one first, and then I'll show you how they all go together. Next, man. This is an aerial photo of the city of Newman and the surrounding properties. West is this way, east is that way. City of Newman. This is Canal School Ranch subdivision. This is Inyo Avenue, F&H right here. This is Canal School Road. This is Merced Street coming out. Hills Ferry Road going out. Wastewater treatment plant. This is the city of Newman's wastewater treatment plant land. Everything in yellow is what has historically been called the Freitas McPike Ranch, but we call it the Simon Newman Ranch. And then the Stanford Rose Ranch, which consists of 101 acres. This is 450 acres. Merced Street here, Lucas Ranch before it was built out. That's all built out now. Lucas Ranch 2, which is being built out now, all of this here. Your infrastructure, which is what Robert alluded to, which is very important. The three main outfall lines for the city of Newman run from here, right up through here, out that way, and into the plant. There are three lines, 15, a 22, and an 18, if I'm right. The 15 is not being used, the 18 and the 22 are. They become really important because that's how you get your wastewater treatment out here. Water is not such a problem. There are 3 wells already on the property. They are not up to city standards, but we know the water quantity is there. Those 3 wells are producing around 9,000 gallons a minute, and that's verified. So we have quite a bit of water. The city, as it grows out from where you are, this is all Class 4 and Class 5 farm ground. It is not by any means prime ag land. The Merced County line runs right through here. But if you can see, they're all connected. They physically touch. Canal School to here to there. With your outfall lines through, water already here, plus all the city water that's been pulled through. What Bob alluded to is correct. This is the Sherman Ranch subdivision. This would be the Renown subdivision, and they're all coming down, so all your growth now is headed in this direction, which is pretty logical because your infrastructure is in this direction. You have the capacity in the plant, or the ability to have capacity in the plant, but you don't have any ability to get that effluent through. The main outfalls are here. They start right there. Next map, please. Canal School Ranch subdivision goes first. Next map. This is Inyo Avenue. This is Canal School Road. It's the existing Lucas Ranch 2 project, which is being built out. And this is F&H's. The city of Newman completed and did a great job on the street up to this point. We have this designed this way for the following reasons. We have a main entry here, which is Simon Newman Parkway, one drive, Simon Newman Drive. We were approached a month and a half ago or so by a member of the Chamber of Commerce who said that the Newman family had requested that nothing was ever named after the city of Newman. It was a family, Newman family. My first impression was, town's named after them, and they all left. You know, so we're still here. Why am I concerned about that? My sister, after discussing a few things with me, brought my mind back to a different point of view. Maybe they're right. But to name these streets as they did request quietly, we decided to name them under people that we knew, that were in the Simon Newman regime as we grew up, and who I knew helped the town. I don't know about the rest of them. The town was here, but I never met them. They died long before I ever got around here. And that was Cap Hubbs, Emil Wagenheim, Ray Wade, and that's where I stopped right there, and Simon Newman himself. Emil Wagenheim, because he ran Simon Newman during and after the Depression, and because of his intelligence and his, I guess overall he was a really good person, and I've only met a very few people that still remembered him. Our grandfather in the Depression went to him because they had bought a ranch from him, and in a Depression no one could make payments on a ranch, and he went to give it back to them because they were carrying the loan and he could not make the payment. And Emil Wagenheim said, we don't need the ranch, we're in no better shape than you are, we will stop everything right here, there is no more interest, the principal payment stops here, and when this is all over, we'll start again. We want you to stay on the ranch, farm it, take it, we can't take care of it. Emil Wagenheim offered that to a lot of people. Now this was passed down to us by our grandfather to our parents to us as to what this man did. People chose to take advantage of it. Lots of them did not and walked off. But he offered them that. And through his offering that, and my grandfather, and that's on my mom's side, Joe and Borba, taking him up on it, we own these 2 ranches, Gustine Ranch, which we now call our home ranch, and the Newman Ranch, which is the original Lucas Ranch subdivision. So I thought that was, because after that, Simon Newman kind of fell apart in my eyes, but he was sharp, and that was a long time ago for that man to do that. A lot of us knew Cap Hubbs, and he really ran Simon Newman. Your storm drain water land that you own is because of Cap Hubbs and his foresight. He set that up along with my grandfather and other people, and the storm drain field that you have And you're the only city that has a storm drain field. None of the other ones do, and that's deeded. It is not adequate for what we're doing today or even where we're at today, but they had the foresight to do it. Ray Wade worked in their office and took an interest in me when I was real young, and he didn't have to, and he was courteous to almost everyone I ever talked to or met, and he was a very bright man, and liked him a lot. The rest of the other court we named company court because I couldn't go beyond that, and anybody I wanted to name without offending someone. Stein Press just named theirs 3 names, Irwin, Polly, and Letha. Irwin and Polly, I know, I have no idea on Letha. What our proposal is Inyo Avenue now, up to this point, is really not a road at all. It's a cow path with oil on it. Nothing's in there. You only have one infrastructure that you have in there is a 40-inch storm drain line, which was placed in there many years ago, and which drains a lot of this side of town. Your whole side of town over here goes through that 40-inch line. You also have a 30-inch line that comes from the north side of town, comes down into here, and gets into this 40-inch line. It meets right here, and then shoots down. And prior to Lucas Ranch 2 project installing the storm drain lift pump plant, which we call the rocket plant, you go into a dirt ditch, and that's your storm drain, which we'll go back on that and show it to you. What we propose to the city of Newman is put this street in its entirety, absolutely no cost to the city of Newman. This is approximately 13 acres. Stein Press is in ours. It's zoned industrial. You don't need any more R1 ground. You have quite a bit. Why would the city want to do this? What's the benefit to the city to do this? Gary Davis can back this up, but this is probably going to cost about $500,000 to put this street in with the improvements. Also, you would have a main drive with a median as an entry here off the cul-de-sacs. The end of each cul-de-sac would be a pedestrian walkway, planted area with wrought iron gates so that the people that live in the homes can walk out, get on the sidewalks, and go downtown. They would actually go towards Bigelow Chevrolet and cut over. Every single one of those cul-de-sacs have that. The lot widths here are all 63 feet to 70 feet wide and over 100 feet deep, so there's 6,000 minimum square foot. Stein Presses mirrors ours with the median entry. Bob Borchardt suggested, and it was absolutely right, that these two come in together and be planned together, and it flows better. There is, in these streets, will be a 66-inch storm drain line, 12-inch sewer, and 10-inch water. The 66-inch storm drain line will actually stub in right here. The 40-inch could get into it. I mean, it would stop there. It would allow, we believe, your business park waters to flow out now. They're trying to get into that 40-inch line. That line is surcharged when we've got storm drain problems. When we've got water problems, that line is surcharged. Everything's getting into it. 66-inch line would relieve almost all of that, or greatly help it. 12-inch water and sewer, 12-inch sewer, 10-inch water would run all the way to here. Masonry wall all through here to match Lucas Ranch 2, curb, gutter, sidewalk, and all curb gutter over here. It's a 50-foot wide street. Next, Matt. This is Inyo Avenue now, standing on Canal School, looking towards F&H's to the west. It's not very wide, it's not very good, and it has a lot of holes in it. Your 40-inch line runs right down through here and comes in. These people here are not in the city, they are in the county. Next. This is another view of the present Inyo looking west, taken a little further up. It shows here we've dished this down and tried to keep it as clean as possible. Your right-of-way, though, actually goes to this fence. That's the actual right-of-way. The road is not just this little bit. Those are the right-of-ways. They are established already. So that's not a problem. We're not taking any land or anything like that to put in this new street. Next. That's a close-up view of where the fence line is, the right-of-way, all the way across, and it goes over on that side the same. Next. This is the north side of Inyo Avenue, looking west towards town, basically at the curve, so you're seeing where the wall's going to come around. Next. This is a new storm drain water drainage pumping plant on the corner, northwest corner, of Inyo Avenue and Canal School Road. It is currently pretty much cyclone fenced now. It would be Ernie and the staff's call to whether they want us to run this masonry wall and enclose this or want to run it around. That's their call. We would do either one. It's fine with us, however Ernie wants that. Next. Where Canal School enters Inyo, you would now have the plant there. This would be walled and subdivided. Over here you would have your curb gutter on your new street and a brand new street put all the way through. We assume, and I know that this is the way it's going to be, that's a lot of truck traffic coming through there. They're probably not coming through there now because I don't think they want their trucks rattled to death going through there. You got potholes and everything else out there, so I don't know how much they're using it. Using L or M Street is no big bonus either. They're not in very much better shape. I attended a meeting here the other night where that lady gave a very invigorating speech on conditions of the street, and I would imagine that your largest percentage of bad streets right here would be Inyo, L, and M. So a benefit to the city is we would install it. It would be done, built to the specs it's supposed to be. Next. This is F&A. This is what the city has recently done, and there sits the little wagon path lane going out. Now it would flow all the way through. You can see where the right-of-way is in relation to the fence. It's plenty of width. It's there. How the curb and gutter sits there. Your 40-inch storm drain line is down there. I don't know. Ernie would have to. Does it run all the way up, Ernie, or does it stop right back there? Your 40-inch runs all the way. Your 66-inch that we would put would start right there. Next. This is what the north side of Inyo would look like. It would follow the pattern set by Lucas Ranch 2. It would be walled, landscaped, sidewalked, all the way down to F&A. Alongside F&A, running to the north, would be a 2.5-foot berm, and I believe it's a 7-foot wall. Kerry would know better than I do on that because they've approved the second phase of Lucas Ranch 2, and that has that. So F&A would be barriered in with the wall and the berm. We've never had any complaints in the subdivision on F&A at all. Nobody seems to, they all like them. We haven't had any complaints. At a suggestion, we did go visit F&A and presented everything we're presenting to you tonight to them so that they had a heads up. Whether they were for it, against it, didn't want to say anything, we felt it was only fair that they knew what we were doing. And they were not aware of anything. So we went and talked to them and had probably a 45-minute meeting with them. And they seemed fine with it. They may come to you different, but when they talk to us, they seem fine with it. Next. Goes back to the subdivision. It stands alone in that it is already in the city limits, and we will be asking for this one to proceed ahead, but it is definitely connected to the other three. Next. Stanford Rose Ranch subdivision and the Stormwater Detention Park. The Canal School Ranch subdivision is named Canal School Ranch. That's the official name of the subdivision coming in. Stanford Rose Ranch subdivision will be officially named Stanford Rose Ranch, and that's what it'll come in as. The Storm Drain Water Detention Park will go into, but that'll be the name, and Lucas and Dunkley now own that together. Next, Matt. This is a general layout of what we're immediately proposing, a footprint, so to speak, of what it would look like and why we would be doing this. To orient you to this, Merced Street coming down turns into Hills Ferry Road, Driscoll through Lucas Ranch, the existing Canal School Road, the new Canal School Road, which we call a bypass. Your property line stops here, and as was pointed out to us, and is correct, this is Sequoia family property. This is our property line. This is Sequoia family. This is the Merced County line. This would have to be annexed in with ours. You cannot annex in just up to there and leave that. So we've got to go clear to the line. We've met with the Sequoia family, Lionel and Melvin and Mrs. Sequoia. They were in favor of it, and we're to keep them posted as we go along, but they're not opposed to it. They are in favor of it. Canal School Road here would be cut off where it would not be through to Hills Ferry and Merced. It would be roundabouts or landscaping. For traffic concerns, it would flow like this and come off the main intersection. This is the city corporation yard. Right here would be the fire station. The lot we would be dedicating and giving to the fire station, we're also giving the corporation yard. This would be Storm Drain Detention Park. This would be Storm Drain Detention Park. You have now, down here, your 40-inch line that comes, the 30-inch which comes across and gets into the 40. You also have the new 66-inch line, which we would be putting in, all hooking into the storm drain rocket plant we have there now. The 53-inch, it comes out of Lucas Ranch, or 52-inch, I forget exactly the diameter, comes through here, makes a turn, and comes right straight down through here. Your infrastructure with your 3 main outfall lines, that's what this is through here, all coagulate right here. So that's why the parks are placed the way they are. It is much easier for Ernie and his crew to dig up lawn than a street if they have to repair the main outfall lines. That's why they would go through. But also you have the 52-inch line is right here. It can easily be connected into this park. There would be big pipes going underneath here to flow these 2 parks together. We would also probably most likely under force main catch your water here, run it back up the streets and dump it into that park. That's a preliminary proposal. It's not cast in concrete. The infrastructure is what the infrastructure is, and it starts to work. This park is configured exactly this way for distinct reasons, because we need to go from this road all the way over to the other balance of the Lucas Dunkley property. We notice we have roads, a street, all the way around to this point, and we would go walking paths. This would be all lawn. We envision this project is 101 acres. That storm drain park, which would be approximately 25 acres, would be dug out 4 foot deep. Because number one, a storm drain park has to be deep, but number two, this property lies in a floodplain area. And so you need to build the pads up of the houses. So in digging out the streets and in digging out the storm drain park, we would take 25 acres, 4 foot deep. You can spread it out 18 inches deep over the balance of 75 acres. So there's no exporting of dirt, or what we call fill, and there's no importing of fill. The project stands alone as far as getting it up out of the floodplain. That's working with Gary, our engineer, Roy Galley, FEMA, everybody you have to work with. Next, Matt. This is our idea of a storm drain park. This is what we envision it to look like. This park exists. This is my cousin Jane's backyard. She lives out of it. This park is in Mesa, Arizona. You will notice the walkways around it, the way they've laid out the park. You would ask, why would they have a storm drain park out in the middle of the desert? When they get rainstorms, they get them big, and they get tremendous volumes of water. And we haven't got a 25-acre storm drain park around here that we like, that we could find or see, or what we envisioned. And our family, my family went there within the last 7 days, and there it is, sitting on my cousin's backyard, exactly what we wanted, and what we wanted to show you, and how we wanted to show it to you. The way they set this up, we thought was just beautiful. Next, Matt. They built gazebos, and they're built out of concrete block, cement floored, and tile wall. Water doesn't affect them, because you are going to get water in there. I mean, it could be times it's 4 feet underwater, 3 feet underwater. And there's several of these gazebos spaced throughout the park. They have bike paths, they have basketball mini courts, and several of these concrete and tile gazebos. The landscaping withstands heat, obviously. It's in Mesa, Arizona, which is right next to Phoenix and Scottsdale. It's beautifully green from the way they water it with their water treatment plant, and we just loved it. This is all decomposed granite. You could have your walking paths all the way around it. We want the houses facing on it. If you go back, Matt, please, to the subdivision map. One more, please. That's why we designed this. It flows the traffic, but also provides walking paths all the way around with curb gutter and sidewalks. The houses are overlooking the park that are all through here, and then the other ones are basically in cul-de-sacs. And cul-de-sacs are quite in vogue right now with, unfortunately, the way what things are happening to children being kidnapped and everything else. People feel safer in a cul-de-sac, and that's what they want, because there's one way in, one way out. And they all know each other, who's supposed to be there and who's not. Go back forward to the park maps. Thank you. The walkways are easy to construct. It works. I mean, there's a lot of planning has to be done on the storm drain park, but it would also flow right straight along into the other Lucas Dunkley, the 450 acres, what is known as the Stanford Rose, because you need to be able to move this water along and move it around. You can't just have it in the 125-acre park. I was standing on the ditch bank. Go back, Matt, please, to the aerial photo. I was standing right here. Your storm drain detention ditch starts right here, goes like this, goes to here, comes all the way down, goes into the wasteway, flows out to the river. Okay. Let me back up a little bit, because about 6 months ago or so, I came in front of the Planning Commission with the Lucas Business Park and some R1 ground. What happened? Why are we suddenly looking at this? Upon my father's death, I was appointed to the board of the Newman Drainage District. Newman Drainage District is the federal loan that was granted to the agricultural entities around here, and they put in tile underground line, and they run all in this country here and run out and take in a vast amount of acreage, and they're perforated pipe down 12 or 14 feet. They allow the subterranean water to go in them, and then they're all hooked up to main lateral lines which go out in different areas, come out by the treatment plant, the wastewater treatment plant, and go to the river. They are very important that they keep this water table down. Councilman John knows this. So when I was appointed to the board, there's Skip Sharuti's on the board, myself, Raymond Lopez. As the youngest member, I got to go to the dinner because they were all dinnered out on going to them. So I grabbed nephew Michael and we went to the Wesley Hotel to have dinner there. But the head speaker was the Department of Water Resources, one of the head gentlemen. And when he started to give his speech, what he came out with was, very soon, if you're a city over 10,000 people, you are not going to be able to dump your untreated storm drain water into the river. If you are an agricultural grower, which that was the majority of everybody there, within 4 years, you are not going to be able to dump any of your untreated tailwater into the river. You could have heard a pin drop at that meeting. I mean, it went totally dead. When I got out of there at night, I'm thinking all the way home, the City of Newman storm drain plan is predicated on dumping into the wasteway, which goes into the river. This guy is just saying no. That really blows everything out. What do we do now? What happens now? So I stumbled around with it for a bit and eventually got a hold of Art Dunkley, and we started that way. But we talked to members of that. We got members that sit on the board. Is this true? Is this going to happen? Is this immediate? Is it down the road? What? As far as we know, and now we know it's definitely true, we don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but it's coming. So that was how this all got started, and we started changing it around. Talking to this board member, he told myself and my engineer that you need to start planning now. If you want to be part of that city, if you want to continue to grow, if you want to do something, you better plan it now and take care of your own problems. That's how this all developed. That's where this all came from. It started off as storm drain water, and the park was Stanford Rose. Then the Dunkley family, which I've known Art for probably about 12 years, got involved with us in talking about different things because he owned the next property. Couple more conversations and we owned all this together, so that's how that happened, and that's a major financial commitment for our two families. Back to where we were, please, Matt. We very much wanted you to see this, to see what our vision of a storm drain park would be and how it would flow. Next, please, Matt. Now comes the golf course proposed and residential neighborhoods. Next, please, Matt. What we do know of how we want to do the course to this point, the course is not my expertise, it's Art Dunkley's. Art Dunkley owns with his partner, Mark Parsinian, the King's Barnes golf course, which is 4 miles or 5 miles from St. Andrews, Scotland. They also designed Granite Bay up by Sacramento and one down in Cabo San Lucas. The reason Mr. Dunkley is not here this evening is there is a tournament starting next Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, after the Ryder Cup, which is called the Dunhill Cup. The Dunhill Cup is kind of the European version of the old Bing Crosby Pro-Am. They have a lot of people that go into it. And he's one of the two owners of the club, and he has to be there to get it going. His vision is we're going to dig down and envelop the course. It'll not exactly be an inland links type course, but we need to dig it down to create the pads and also to allow the water to flow. He has built golf courses. He knows what he's doing. We have the land. We've met with Merced County. They were positive in the first meeting, but that's as far as we got. Everything comes back to here. If you would go back, Matt, please, to the aerial photo. We got several problems out there in infrastructure. Your storm drain, which goes down here, comes this way. Your storm drain field is this approximately 120 acres right here. Your water is to sit in there and then can be metered out, goes through a pipe with a flapper valve, and went into what, when Cap Hub set this up, was Simon Newman property. That was all Clover Ranch out there. It now belongs to the Department of Fish and Game. So it goes into the wasteway and flows out to the river. But you not only have the city of Newman storm drain water that you have to contend with. I was standing right here on this spot looking at how I'm going to do different things on this ranch, what I was envisioning I was going to do. Suddenly dawned on me in the month of July that there was a hell of a lot of water running through this ditch, and it hasn't rained at all. What you're getting is all the farmers from over here's drain water, what we call tailwater. It's the irrigation runoff. You've probably got a 6-foot head of water running all day, every day, for 6 months out of the year, 7 months out of the year. It's going into, well, who gets it is us. I mean, it's going into our ranch. It gets into this ditch and goes out. They are not going to be allowed to do that. And I'm sitting there thinking of all the different ways. Unfortunately, the development side of me took over more than the ag side. And I'm thinking, what are we going to do with this water? How am I going to handle this water? And I had Marvin Rose with me because he was thinking about possibly renting the ranch or helping me to farm the ranch. And he jumps up on the ditch right there and goes, wow, look at all this free water. And it dawned on me, he's right, this is free water. We don't have to pay for this. It's coming down here every day and it's free water. So then I started thinking differently. We're going to have to handle it. The city of Newman is already, knowingly or unknowingly, handling it without them ever knowing it. But we can't just shut it off. What are we going to do with it? Next, Matt, back to the golf course site. We think that we can handle that storm drain water through the parks, through the golf course, and through lakes, because you're going to have to handle it that amount of time of the year, and that's coming during the summer. But more importantly, pick it up and use it for irrigation. Why be pumping well water out of the ground if we can pick up drain water and use it in the system? Now, Matt, would you go back, please, to the aerial photo? In discussions with Cleve and Ernie and Bob, the golf course being here as a golf course itself is beneficial as an amenity. But where it really becomes beneficial is if we can use treated wastewater to irrigate the golf course and to irrigate the storm drain detention parks. That takes a load off your sewer, your wastewater treatment plant, and also conserves water. It would be foolish to have your outfall lines go right through here. It would be foolish to send it all the way down to the plant and turn it around and pump it all the way back up. That costs power, and you're putting in a lot of infrastructure you don't need. What we propose, and this is not cast in concrete, but I've seen it done, and Ernie has seen it done. Right here at this spot, and this is where Swamp Rat's gun club is. They're right here on this 10 acres. Right here, leading from the storm drain park into the golf course and other storm drain parks, would be a big house. Look just like a house. But it's not going to be a house you're going to want to live in. Because what's going to be inside that house is a packaged sewer treatment plant. And that house would be put right there for the simple reason that's where your outfall lines are. And that's where we would attack it, is right at the outfall lines. So that effluent is treated there, then sent into the irrigation system, and doesn't reach your wastewater treatment plant. You have the lines there, so if there's any spills or overflow, it just stays in the lines and goes to the plant. But it would greatly reduce the load that's on the plant now. And it would keep the storm drain park very nice and green. It would irrigate the golf course fairways. We can't use it on the greens, but we can use it on the fairways. We can combine that with well water, which we want to use the least as possible because that's the deepest you down, deep in depth. That's the most power cost to pump it up. So we would like to use the tail water, the runoff water, and capture that because that's only a 5 or 10 horsepower pump and put that into the system with everything else. What I'm getting to is all the ingredients are there to work and to do something beneficial to the city, beneficial for us, beneficial for the land. Robert is right. There's a lot of steps to go in this, to take off. But you have 550 acres under the ownership of 2 families that, would like to think know what they're doing. You have the City of Newman's wastewater treatment plant. You have Merced County, which we can put the majority of the houses in, or quite a few of the houses in. How does that benefit the City of Newman? In talking with Bob and Ernie and Cleve, it benefits you in the fact that you are providing them for a fee their sewer, their water and cleaning and sweeping their streets. It is not something you have to do. It becomes a fee basis. You make money on it. Under the joint powers is out of my area of expertise. That's Bob and Cleve and Ernie and Gary as to who get what taxes and how they go from there. That I don't know. But the streets would be put in. The sewer water, you're providing it as a service and you're being paid for it. Because we can't keep attacking our cities to, for police and all that. That has to be on a fee basis and is paid for. And there's enough property there to do it and enough homes to do it. Merced County, when we spoke to them, and none of this land, by the way, is in the Williamson Act. Not an acre of it. So we're free of that. We don't have to deal with that. When we talk to them, you're getting now maybe $9 an acre taxes. How would you like $8,000 an acre taxes? And even they figured that one out. That was a pretty good deal. They could do math, so that worked pretty good. They won't get the whole thing because that comes between Newman and City of Newman and County of Merced. The golf course, Mark Parsinian and Art will be back in a couple of weeks, and we'll be walking it and present you more how it looks like, how they envision laying out. That's way out of my area of expertise as to what I can do or not do. But I can tell you that it's probably mostly going to be in Stanislaus County. We can put it in Merced County, but we want to leave the majority of it. It takes about 130 to 140 acres to do a national championship caliber 18-hole course. That's what you need. And we have that. So that works just fine. And then to put the wetlands in. But this is going to be something that's done over stages. I mean, we're not here to say, boy, let's annex it all in and go. That's not going to happen. This is all dictated by the economy. As fast as the economy moves, that's what's going to allow it to happen. That's why, and Bob said this from day one, and after a few times I thought about it, I agreed with him. You start up at Canal School Ranch and you work your way down. The annexation to LAFCO is 101 acres of the Stanford Rose, and probably in Stanislaus County, I think, Lolly, my sister said, it's 101 acres that we have of the 450 in Stanislaus County. So you have a 201 acre annexation going into LAFCO. Do we do it all at one time? Talking with Cleve and talking with Bob, you don't want to blindside LAFCO, tell them what you're doing up front and what you're envisioning and planning. Don't try to sneak it in, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. We're doing enough things here that are environmentally sensitive and that we believe are working. In discussions with Cleve and Ernie, also was brought out, which is a real good idea. You can have 2 water lines in subdivisions, and they're doing this already. And because of the location of the property, it becomes easier to do. You can take and run gray water lines for landscaping into all the houses and regular water lines for the water for the houses. So now you're talking about taking that treated wastewater and running it all throughout the houses for landscaping, all on the parks, all on the golf course. It works. You can relieve a lot of the wastewater treatment plant's problems. Any questions? No, bye.
I have a question. Are those the sewer lines deep enough?
Ernie, oh, Gary Davis question. Okay, I can tell you exactly where they're at. Go back to the air. Oh, you're on the aerial photo, right? Right here at Canal School and Hills Ferry and Merced Street intersections. Right there, they're 5 feet 6 inches. It progresses through there to that corner where it's 8 feet. The storm drain and sewer lift pump plant there became what it is now because all the engineers, with the exception of Gary Davis, missed that. No one knew what the depth of those sewer lines and outfall lines were. My dad knew, and I asked him, have you ever hit any of these outfall lines when you were working these ranches? Yeah. What was the depth? About 8 feet. Great. Everything was drawn from there. Well, when we found out that it was not 8 feet here, but 8 feet down there, I came back and asked him, you told me 8 feet. He said, you didn't ask me where I hit him at. You just asked me if I hit him. So that meant that when they started doing the improvement plans coming up Canal School Road, sewer line broke out, what, right about there, Ern? Broke the top of the ground. Couldn't do that. So yeah, John, 5 here, 8 there. I don't know the depth beyond, but we'll find out because I'll be probing on these ranches now that we own them. I'll be out there digging holes and everything else, so we'll find out. It gravity flows, obviously, from the town,
I was
clear
just
to the
concerned
treatment
about
plant.
about your map where the storm drain basin is, if they were deep enough.
Yeah,
for
they're
your-
deep enough.
For your 4-foot.
And Matt, go back please to one of the storm drains, one of the parks. Notice that a lot of them are humped. You know, they're not all just flat. They have humps and ridges in them. And this would all be worked out with Ernie and Gary as to where, we know exactly where those lines are at and exactly the easement width and everything. That would all be figured into it. So yeah, John, it works. We can do it. Hello, Les.
Anyone else have any questions of Doug at the present time?
How about
Okay.
if I make a couple of comments, Doug?
Sure, Tim.
And I will do this in light of the fact that I've been privy to some informal talks about this project, having to live just on the other side of your mother there, Mrs. Lucas, and having had conversation with your father before his passing. I'm appreciative of the family history. You went into a historical dialogue when you began presenting this, but I'll be candid and straight to the point. When you talk about the economy driving this project, that could be based on a timeline that could happen over a duration of a decade, where we saw slow growth in the 90s, where we had a depression of housing in this city, or it could be something that would boom overnight within a much shorter time span because people want housing. And so that's a quick impact for growth in our town to take on, in particular, the project that you're talking about with the golf course and the housing. It says here 750 to 800 home sites. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
Realistically, Canal School Ranch is something I can see that's doable, particularly with what you're proposing to do with Inyo. And you mentioned Gary Davis would back you up on the 500,000. I just wanted to ask Gary Davis if he would, that $500,000 would suffice to do all of what Doug proposed to Inyo, giving your
Order of magnitude, I can't tell you exactly.
right, of course, without doing any studies, but that would be a fair, accessible amount, that $500,000 that he threw out there to do that, and that would be something you'd be willing to do for this one particular project. But I know that would have some insight to the overall project. Is that correct? Making that assessment?
Yeah, we look at it as, if you go back, I mean, this is a simple explanation. Back to an aerial photo, please, Matt. Inyo Avenue is right here. That's called off-site improvements. Why? Because they're off the site. The reason this becomes feasible and the reason it's doable, if you take the figure, $500,000, divide it by 63 lots, you're going to come out with pretty close to $8,000 a lot. That's a lot of money for off-sites. However, it needs to be done. The plus side to it is that Lucas Ranch 2 already pulled all the other infrastructure to this site. The storm drain, sump pump, and sewer pump is in. When that sewer line was put in under pressurized maintenance, Ernie and Gary and Cleve made sure it was big enough to take whatever was going to go over here, be it industrial or be it residential. We may have to increase the size of the pump that pumps it under that pressurized line back up to your outfalls. But the cost of producing those lots can be economically done because the infrastructure is pulled to that site already. We're not reaching out like we did with Lucas Ranch and have to pull everything in off of Merced and Hills Ferry. Also, with the rest of the projects, the infrastructure goes marching along. I mean, it's there, so we take it out as we need it. You would have to put the storm, if you went in with Stanford Rose, the first thing that goes in is the storm drain detention park, or a large portion of it. You have to go in right off the bat. Bob and Cleve both, and Ernie, we've talked at length. You know, I can't guarantee you, Tim, or anybody, that I'm going to be alive tomorrow morning, much less I'm going to be here in 10 years. So you have to do it with development agreements, and you have to do it where you can accommodate the stages of growth, because the infrastructure has to be a step ahead of the growth all the time. If it requires the course coming in and the little package, but not little, but large package sewer plant being there on the golf course, that has to come first, because the infrastructure has to go first. If I learned anything from 12 years ago when we thought we were financial wizards and the market crunched and we learned we were not, was that you cannot go out and do what developers call land banking, which means you pay $40,000 or $30,000 an acre for this land and then sit there and wait to build houses on it. You're going to go broke real quick doing that. Where I'm lucky, and where the Dunkley family, our family is lucky, is our background is ag. And these properties have been acquired at prices that we are comfortable with. And if they stay big, pretty ranches for a long time, they're not big, pretty. Well, the Stanford Rose is pretty now. Earned, demanded, I clean it up. The next one will get cleaned up too. It will look like that. It's going to take us some time to clean all the weeds out and make it look nice, but it will look like that. You know, the entry to Newman from that side will be good. We can continue to ranch them.
Okay.
They're purchased at a price that allows us to do that. And that's a huge difference. We're not optioning it. We're not out there going, if we get all this, we can then do this. The commitment was made, money was put up, we own them. Did that answer your question, Tim?
Yes, it did. I mean, you said this yourself. You'll go between your development side and your agricultural side, and you just alluded to that. And I'm just being frank about it in terms of what this town has already swallowed as a pill of what we currently have annexed recently within the last several years and how many units we have on the books. Your proposal is fantastic because it's complete and thorough, and the ideas that you have, I can applaud with the golf course, with the swells and everything else that you have. I'm just looking at it from
how
a
else
perspective,
we can absorb it,
taking
yeah.
myself from behind this dais and stepping down with all the citizens in the town to say, well, when is this going to happen? Is our town just going to explode overnight? And I know that that's not the message you're conveying.
No.
You're conveying a plan for growth, for future development that'll be dictated with the economy and the dream that you have, that you see with this development agreement, you and Dunkley owning all that property. So
One thing that, thank you, Tim. One thing that, I mean, it's really apparent once you look at it, and I've been here all my life, and I didn't really start figuring this out till about 6 months ago, even though I was told a little different by my dad. Physically, where our water treatment plant is, Newman's only going to grow so much because we've got natural boundaries. We've got the Wasteway, we've got the river, and we've got Lucas Dunkley Ranch. I mean, pretty much we cannot come across the road unless we're going to start lifting sewer uphill, treated wastewater uphill. We're physically located and confined to what we are. We have the river, the Wasteway, and Hills Ferry Road. And anybody that's in ag knows that water runs from the west to the east. That's how this valley slopes. It all slopes to the rivers. And so we're really physically constrained. And it works if we take, and who actually gave me this idea first? It was a combination of Bob and Cleve. You know, of what are you going to do with where these are at? I mean, we're going to be up against it. What do you propose? A golf course, as of itself, is a nice thing to have. You know, oh, Newman's got a golf course. But a real good functional golf course that helps us in our wastewater treatment and our storm drain problems, which are coming, and we know that, then allows us to control our own destiny up to the point that we want to. But you know, where Newman's going to go population-wise, opinions that I value, people that I've talked to, probably 14,000, you know, because infrastructure-wise, we don't have it. Unless something else dramatically changes, or someone is willing to spend $5 or $6 million to bring it across Highway 33 over to the west side of town. I mean, that's just pretty much physical truth.
Okay, if there's no questions or any comments from anyone in the audience, I think we'll move on to our items from city manager and council members, and we'll use that as a forum for anyone. Stick around, Doug.
Okay.
Don't run off. Don't run off.
I was going to give Bob his little ray gun back.
Anyway, we can use that for each individual to ask any questions they may have or whatever. And is that satisfactory with everyone here? Okay. All right, I'm going to turn this around a little bit. Go to items from the commissioners first, Debbie.
I'm coughing right now.
Well, we'll start with Ed then, if you have anything.
Okay, I was quite impressed with, you know, Doug's presentation. I really think it's a good plan over the future, and I think it will probably eventually come to pass. and I think it's a really good workable plan, the golf course and everything. One of the items I wanted to bring up tonight was an item of our problems that we're dealing with on crossing the county lines in our industrial center. I was involved with Norbert Roach on the Architectural Review and the Planning Commission, and I hate to see somebody that wants to improve their business that, you know, employs 50 people in the city of Newman, and he's been working on this project to get this property for a year and a half now, and he's still at a point that he can't go forward, and he's getting pretty disgusted. And I think we should do something to try to expedite this, or to try to keep him so that he doesn't look for property somewhere else, you know. And I'd like to see us try to do something to alleviate the problem that exists there.
Yeah, to build on that, maybe, have you checked the codes with Merced County?
Yeah, we have.
Are the residential codes pretty much the same as the city of Newman?
Here's what I came out, Art Dunkley, myself, Dennis Wilson, and Matthew Michael went to this meeting with Deirdre Kelsey,
Yeah.
supervisor for our section in Merced County.
Right.
She very much liked the project, but I always temper like with reality. And Mr. Borchardt always has a way of putting, you know, my dreams in a more reality mode than as far as I can vision out. Your staff, for as fast as the city is growing, is very overloaded. I mean, they got a lot of work to do. They're overloaded. We as individuals, meaning Art and I and Michael and our family and his, can make things move faster because we're in the county's face all the time. Because once we designate our time that this is what we're going to do, we're going to be like little pit bulls, little fox terriers lashed onto their pant leg. We're not going to do them a lot of harm, but we're not going to let go, you know. And it's pretty much better for them to get rid of us. But my point is, we can push it through. Talking with Cleve and Ernie, I think the 66 storm drain line in Inyo probably helps your industrial park for stormwater drainage. It's not the main problem out there, but it's part of it, and it helps the whole industrial park, because they have to answer to Merced County going, well, you have high water table ground over there. How are you going to handle this? Are you going to do a storm drain park? You already have a staff that's, you know, pretty busy every day just taking care of the town of Newman, plus what's coming online. To go into that, we can expedite it. Norby can't go every day. He has a business to run. You know, he has to stay on top of that. So it's whatever any concerned citizen can do to help him, but infrastructure is the key to the whole thing, and Ed's right. You don't want to lose this guy. Norby's born and raised in Gusty in the area, and he's built this business from nothing. Or anybody else that wants to come in. The one thing I missed in my presentation was once Inyo is done, and we've completed it, then that whole south side, which basically is Mr. Batello's property, is ready to go. You won't be faced with this. You will have infrastructure in that street. Your main problem now is the infrastructure is not there. And so you've got staff and Merced County trying to work around it. This improves that land. It makes that land become real. You know, the industrial park, Batello's property, all that becomes real. We don't have a real industrial park right now. If IBM came tomorrow, there's nothing we can do. We don't have the infrastructure. IBM's not going to come tomorrow, but I mean, if somebody you want comes tomorrow, we don't have it. We can do nothing. This way we have it. It's ready to go. I mean, they would file their plans with Bob and Cleve and give them to Gary, and here you go. Gary's now got something he can work with. Right now, Gary's got a nightmare.
Well, I was just thinking what Ed's trying to say probably is we hate to see, we can be positive, but if you're going to run across, you know, problems like Norbert's running across, trying to run his business across the county line, so to speak, part of it in our county, part of it in Merced, you know, we hope that it would run a lot better for you.
Under staff's guidance, I mean, obviously we can't run in there and go, we want this,
No,
this, this,
no,
and this,
no.
and City of Newman said it was okay. I mean, that's not going to happen. I mean, you know, Cleve and Ernie and Bob and Gary, everybody's involved in it from day one. Either they're going to direct us what we need to do along with our engineers, but we can go, Norby can't go every day to the County of Merced. He can't set those meetings up rapid fire. Your own staff can't set those meetings up rapid
Right.
fire. They can't. They have too much to do. We're dedicated to this. And if we have to get dragged somewhere else, we hire someone to go do it. I mean, it'll get done within reason.
Okay, okay.
That was all I
That
had.
was it.
Thank you, Doug.
Yeah, well, now that I'm done coughing, well, I kind of go along with what Tim had said. I really see the Canal School Ranch happening reasonably soon, because that just seems to be a natural extension. And as far as the other part of it, I think it's a great idea, and I think I know from reading the paper that the treatment of the water is going to become a major issue for all towns in the area, and this certainly provides an innovative approach to cutting down on everything that's going to happen. It's going to happen some way, somewhere, and the growth is going to go east because of the, as you point out, the ag land to the east is not as good as the one to the west. It does concern me the amount of housing, because like Tim, we have a lot on board, but as you point out, this is not something that's going to happen tomorrow, so
No.
that's my only concern right now. Otherwise, I think it's great, and I would love to see more of what the envisioning of the golf course too.
Mark
when
and,
you get it.
Mark and Art will be here probably in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, that would be
And
great. We'd
I
love to
thought
see
we
that
would,
too.
drive around on the ranch and look at it, but Art told me, no, we're going to walk it. He walks it.
Yeah.
And
that
you're going to
sounds
walk it with a
reasonable.
shovel and
Yeah.
a pick, and we all, that's how he does it. And it's going to be fascinating for me.
Yeah,
I mean, because
I'm sure it will be.
that if it can become reality. I mean, we can do this. We can do it. And before, 3 years ago, I never, forget it, never even thought about it. But the element of time changed things. The element of time of what the cities are faced with, the element of time in our fortunes that we were able to do this and acquire this, it's just being in the right place at the right time and knowing the right people, and they all come together. It can be done.
That's all I had, really.
You want to give other commissioners?
Oh, yeah, Commissioner Wallace.
I'm just not very positive about it. I understand the need to deal with stormwater, understand the need to deal with sewer. The idea of a golf course out on next to that makes some real solid sense. Canal School dumping residential traffic out onto the roads that we're building for servicing our industrial park and sending those children walking to school with the 18-wheelers doesn't sound like a good idea to me. If it were pulled back in and designed so that it went with rodeo grounds and back through the rest of the subdivision, that might make some sense, but I think what we've heard in your presentation and what I've heard in the city council meetings and planning commission meetings over the last couple of months is we're not able to provide industrial lots for people to move into. You made the comment if IBM moves in tomorrow. I don't even know that IBM is what we want here. Can we absorb 500 jobs disappearing? I mean, Gustine's about to find out what it's like to absorb 125. And of course, Newman went through that when Leprino left, which was just a little before my time. I think the problems that we're seeing in developing the industrial park that we have, where we've got city-owned land and should have nice incentives, we're finding that there's a good reason that quality developers, like the people that work in Newman, like yourself, like the Hearthstone folks, you come in and do a good job. I really don't think that we have the developers that an awful lot of towns have that walk in and dump a horrid project on a town and say, well, you go figure out how to get enough water out the end of the pipes to put a fire out. You guys don't leave us with those kind of problems. You stick around and you stick with us when there's a school bond to be passed or something like that. But I also think that you guys earn your money for a really good reason. It's because what you were talking about, when you've got a problem, and you can sit down with the city of Merced or the county of Merced and say, you know, we've got this thing. Well, if you do this or you do that. Well, when the city owns industrial property and we're trying to put together a deal, it has to come back, a decision has to be made by a committee, whereas when you as a private citizen have that, you sit down, you pencil it out in your head and say, well, yeah, if it comes to a figure about like this, we can deal with that, and you close it, you get something taken care of right then and there. I think we're losing that. We're taking a lot of land that we had decided is where jobs needed to go, and we're taking it out with the hopes that Mr. Botello comes in and decides that he's going to build property, he's going to build his property for an industrial purpose, or I've heard Mr. Souza's name mentioned with that property as well. So we're hoping that they're going to come through, put their industrial traffic. We can use Norbert as a perfect example. I think that's what we're looking for here, is somebody like Norbert to come in with 50 or some odd jobs, and he could easily double that. A couple of good contracts here and there, he could double that, and all of a sudden we've naturally grown. And like you've said, a guy that's here, that has roots here, his family's here, he's not going to pick his business up and take it to Visalia or Jakarta tomorrow. IBM, they're here today if we give them enough tax breaks, and tomorrow they get bigger tax breaks from Jakarta or Australia or whatever. They're gone, and they leave us to pick up the pieces. So we can build businesses, but what I see is that we're turning loose of industrial property. I know that we're concerned about industrial next to residential, and I am too, but I look at what we do with industrial property now. We put mini storages on it. With conditional use permits, we've got feed stores and tractor dealerships and stuff. There's certainly an interface there. We designed a sound wall to deal with some of that. As we develop out further, I was certainly looking forward to seeing, because I've seen the work that you've done before, and you've done good work before. I was looking forward to seeing that same effort and dedication put towards industrial buildings, because I think that's what this city needs. I think there's a lot of people with a bright idea in the back of their head who are beating down Mr. Borchard's door trying to get him to pass home occupancy permits, and we wish that we had some place that we could say, well, here's some buildings, go move in. We don't have that in this town. And talking to the people on the city-appointed Economic Development Commission, they say we know what we need. We're spending gobs of money on studies, but we know we need buildings ready to move into, and we need the infrastructure. And I just feel like we are giving that up for houses. And then what do we get when we have houses? We have a need for soccer coaches and chamber directors, and they don't seem to be falling out of the woodwork.
Can I reply, Paul, to you for a second?
Absolutely. That was
Okay.
most of...
Yeah, I facetiously said IBM. Here's really what we're thinking about, talking with Cleve and Ernie and Bob, what we thought. Economically, even for us to develop this in what I like is a small warehouse, little office combinations, and my brother-in-law David could use one. I've got all kinds of people asking me to use one. I cannot economically develop it on ground we own because the infrastructure costs I have to put in Inyo Avenue. Can't do it. I mean, it's just got to sit there, and I got to disc weeds 3 times a year. I can't not do it financially. And we own the land, free and clear, and we can't do it. If we put that in, dedicated to the city of Newman, and that's been firm from day one, there's absolutely no cost. Botello's piece, for one, opens up to do that, and the infrastructure is paid. Mr. Botello's got to be in his late 60s or early 70s. He's not going to do it, but people are not going to come buy his land now because there's no infrastructure, and they can't do it either. Once that street is in, then they can. Now you can do that. I said IBM facetiously. That was a dumb statement. I should have said, I don't know what I should have said, but it should have been smaller. Because we're not going to get IBM. And you're right, do we even want them? I sure as hell didn't want a prison sitting out there. I mean, it would have created a lot of jobs, but I didn't want a prison. You know. So we need that. And outfits like Norby, and they'll come. But right now, we can't do anything because it's not ready for them. Even what you're having to face with now isn't ready for it. That would make it ready for it because we've put everything in. And the city now has it at no cost to the city nor the adjoining landowners. We're not looking for reimbursement back from landowners or anyone else. It'll be put in, absolute, done. Bob requested I put that in writing, and I did. Maybe that'll leave. It comes down to economics
Yeah.
Paul, we cannot do it unless we do this, basically. I mean, we'll have to sit there on that land for a damn long time. We just can't afford to do it.
Absolutely, and I'm not clear whether I'm convinced or not. We sat here 2 nights ago and heard that we don't have the money to even stay close to keeping our streets in order. It makes me wonder, can we put more streets in? My big concern about this particular one is that you're putting residential traffic into an industrial area.
Well,
I
we're
think
only
that's-
putting, oh, go to the map, please, Matt, of Canal School Ranch, so that I can discuss this with Paul. We thought about having one entry and putting it on Canal School Road. What happens with that is under the fire department, and I think, Bob, it's state of California rule, is it not? We can't have that long, when we can configure the subdivision in a lot of ways. What we had intended to do was with Woodside, was to flow this in, and this would be one solid wall out with only citizen walkways. Well, again, it boils down to the economy, and it boils down to what the staff can handle and what Woodside can handle. And this is by no means the staff's fault. Never was. Woodside never knew what the city of Newman was going to do in house sales. They didn't know how their product was going to go. So we worked along with them. Bob spent time on this. Our engineers, we spent money on this. Cleve spent time on this. Ernie spent time on this as to how we would phase this all in off of here. They'd give up a few lots. We would run the cul-de-sacs in. They come to Cleve and to Bob and to us and say, well, you got to have this done by September 1 because we've got to have lots in March. We're selling faster than we can build them. We can't do that. I can't go ask the city to do something that's impossible to do. Bob and Cleve can't do it. So now we turn around, and this is how the subdivision comes out. You know, how we can do it and still go the goal we want. If we could run it off of here and do a long street, you know, we could S it through and do cul-de-sacs, but I don't think for fire safety that they're going to allow us to do that. Gary could probably answer it better than me. I don't think they're going to allow us to do it. And this is the only way we can do it. Because those trucks have to get in, have to be able to turn around. You've got water flowing through the hydrants. It's got to be, there's certain requirements and laws. They can only go certain lengths. So we eliminated it to one entry and exit. You're really not going to get a lot of traffic in there other than the people that are in there. They ain't going nowhere. I mean, they're just going to their houses and that's it. And it is conducive to walk out. And if they drive out, we're going to build that street and it's going to be there. I thought about same you're thinking. Okay, I'm driving a milk tanker in. Now, I've just rerouted Canal School. It's all new. It's walled. He just built Inyo Avenue for me. Am I going to bounce down by John and George's shop there through L Street with a full load of milk, or I'm going to take the smooth road? I'm going to take the smooth road. So they're going to use it till the rest of it gets done. But in discussing it with Ernie, the head of Public Works, unless developers like us are putting these streets in, it's just not going to get done. It's going to take forever. It's a lot easier to maintain that street once we've put it in than to you guys. You can't build it either. Only we can build it, and only we can build it with houses. I don't know about the schools if the buses go in there or what. I don't have any children, so I couldn't tell you whether the buses. We've left room for them to get in and flow out pretty easily, so that those kids are not walking. That's mostly pedestrian traffic to get downtown, and also to allow Mel's Crews access in there if there's an emergency.
Yeah, I still see the kids walking to Rite Aid for an ice cream, passing the trucks coming and going from Norbert's, from the industrial stuff that we build on Batello's across the street, and from F&A.
Well, Lisa, yeah, you're right. They'll have a nice big sidewalk to walk on. I mean, they're going to, and they can't flow out. We can't go any other way unless, no, we can't because Woodside's got all that. We have to pull them out here and go onto the sidewalks. They'll have wall, sidewalk, everything else. I would imagine the only other thing we could do is speed bumps, you know, and slow that truck traffic down. I mean, you can station the police officers out there all day long. They hide there by our office, and, you know, we would enjoy watching them catch people, cause, you know, 'cause they've killed our cats, they've killed everything. Ernie and I talked about speed bumps. You know, the trucker's not going to matter. He's slowed down to 10 miles an hour. Once he stops and makes that turn, and he's loaded, he can't, RPM-wise, gear up and go. I mean, he can't go over 15 miles an hour from that point to that point. I doubt if he's going to get over 20 miles an hour. He's loaded. He can't do it. Right. If you put a speed bump in there, he definitely can't do it. And we're not adverse to that if that's what Ernie and and Gary and Cleve decided to do. We would be more than happy to do that and build it into the road.
Was that?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine. Okay, Commissioner Atwood.
Hi, Les.
I'm just concerned about roads in the town, the circulation of traffic. I think we got some areas that are kind of bad for traffic, and probably other ones are going to get worse. And I just wonder how we can help alleviate some of that stuff. Can these roads be put in at the time that the subdivisions are put in for expansion and necessary 4 lanes? And that kind of thing, can roads be put in to offset the traffic problems in the areas at the time that development is done, or not before, but
Yeah, that all comes in planning. Yeah, we can do that. I mean, we have to do it. The infrastructure has to be a step ahead of it. I mean, what we've laid out tonight is, you know, a footprint of what can happen. Now, if the planning gets down to it, you know, that's our engineers with Bob and Ernie, Cleve, and then it goes to Gary. You know, and Gary will probably be involved in it from day one on this, yeah, because you got to consider traffic flow. You've got Sherman, Hardstone Ranch coming down now, what Sherman Ranch does, and they bring it in. We're gonna have a lot of streets going out, reroute Canal School Road around, you know, to do that. That's all part of it. Yeah, that can be done.
is Inyo there from Canal School to 33? Is there room enough to make that wider for a future 4-lane? Would 2-lane be sufficient?
Go back, Matt, to Canal School Ranch, the photos of the streets. Okay, well, one ahead, Matt, please. Okay. What you have to your right of ways. That's your fence there, and it's about equal on this side. I don't think it'd make 4 lanes, but it'd make a turning lane.
Yeah.
We're required by the city to do this 50-foot curb to curb. Am I right, Gary, or am I wrong? I don't remember. It's 50-foot curb to curb. Okay.
16.
Go, Matt, to where the shot is. We'll just go what? One more. One more yet. One more yet. Nope. Keep going, please. One more yet. Okay, got it. That left is what it's gonna look like. That's what the city's already done to F&A. You're pretty much up against the right-of-way right now. You probably go a little further, but you're right against the right-of-way, but look at the difference. You know, that's like this is like that. That's how much we can do. And that's 50 foot. We measured it at 50 foot curb to curb. 50 foot of street. And your right-of-way is on the other side. Whoever comes in here will also have to put in curb, gutter, and sidewalk. Curb and gutter will be in, sidewalk. So you're gonna have a pretty wide road.
Doug, can I comment on that quickly? One of the things that no, I'm fine. Les, this is all defined in our traffic circulation plan. I don't recall, Ernie, I don't know if you do, if Inyo is, I don't believe is designed to be 4 lanes, is it? You recall? However, that traffic circulation plan was based on this property that we're talking tonight being industrial. There's different traffic loads based on industrial and residential. My guess is, and Bob, you might be able to help me out here, what this would require would be a traffic study to show does this bump up, would this residential traffic coming onto this street bump it up to where it would require. So I can't tell you if this would require a 4-lane or a 2-lane, but we would have to go through that study to find out with the change from industrial and the traffic loads that would be designed under industrial to residential and those traffic loads, what does that do to Inyo Avenue?
So you would have industrial traffic as well as private traffic.
Well, what we're creating by doing Inyo is you're creating the ability to put industry in there. I mean, right now you don't have the ability. So now we come in, we put in the infrastructure, we put in the streets. Go back, please, Matt, to the aerial photos. Now, I'm in Les's way. Now you can plan this area here. You're going to have brand new road down from Canal School Road, brand new road from Inyo, all the infrastructure in here. Now it's trying to bring that traffic from here. Your industrial park goes straight out in that street there where Dark Track is and comes out here. Now, because this is infrastructure, you got the ability to start going out that way. So you can actually plan this now. You can make an industrial park out of it. Cul-de-sac it, run streets out, you can actually do it. And you're probably going to get developers in now that will look at it, us being one of them. I mean, we would look at it very strongly. Because the infrastructure's there. You can do something. I mean, really, us putting this in and the city of Newman allowing us to do this, if that's what passes, we've made whoever owns this property, we've enhanced his value a ton. Because he's got something real. He can make it fly. He can make it work. At his age, and I mean, I can't speak for Mr. Patello, I'm just speaking from what I know. At his age, it's not going to be him that does it, but it'll be somebody to come along and do it. It makes George's property real because he doesn't have the infrastructure out there. And he knows it, and but now he does. If we put this in, he does. He actually has something, and the city of Newman has something. But now we start planning and running streets out the other way. Les has a valid point. But now you can plan it and start doing your traffic circulation that way for when that starts to grow.
Were there any other questions, Commissioner? No? No? Commissioner Meyer?
Okay, I got just a few quick comments. I think there's some legitimate benefits here and some good ideas, Doug, but I do have some concerns, and will echo some of those of my colleagues. One concern I have, and one thing I'd like to look at more, is the layout of the golf course, of course, and the homes and the proximity to the sewer plant, and how that's going to be laid out.
Yeah, we've thought about that, Mike. We haven't got it laid out yet. The golf course will be privately owned, publicly played. We want it to stand alone. Not be, there's not going to be any houses in this golf course. We don't want it. It's just not, we want the golf course to be a golf course. So we've been approached with, well, would you do gated community for seniors? Can we do some inclusionary housing in this? Yeah, we haven't even got that far yet to start really looking at how we're going to do it. The only thing that we're setting in our minds now is this golf course stands alone. It's a course. I don't like golf courses that are basically a subdivision golf course. The way I hit the ball, I'm liable to be paying for windows most of the time, so I don't really want to do that. And we want the course to stand alone. If you're going to go to that caliber of a course, it needs to stand alone. We live, my mother does, and the office is, basically downwind from the sewer treatment plant. We got a real good sewer treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant. We don't get any odor. I mean, Tim's right there too. He knows. Councilman Applegate's also in that area. He knows. John works around it all day long. It's got to be, and so do I, it's got to be a real hot day before we ever get any odor. And Lance and Ernie and everybody that's involved out there does a really good job. And we need to keep giving them the tools to do it, if that answers your question. The golf course is going to stand alone. Houses are going to be off of it, way off of it.
Okay, I got just a couple more things. I too am concerned about the industrial land being swallowed up and used for residential. And, maybe the south side of the road is our answer, or it may or may not be. I don't know, but it's definitely a concern of mine. And then, again, the growth issue, especially with our current inventory of unbuilt homes.
Mr. Borcharge's estimate, the best I could get this done would be 5 years. I mean, we're going to go 2.5 years in planning. Canal School Ranch, that goes pretty fast. But when you get into Stanford Rose, and I don't argue with Bob very often, when you get into Stanford Rose and everything else, bear in mind 300 acres of this is in Merced County. So that's where it's going to go over there. However, it doesn't happen until the agreements with the city of Newman are done for the sewer, the water. Merced County told us, well, you can do this under Newtown zoning. I haven't seen a Newtown work yet. From every one they proposed around here, none of them are in existence. But none of them had city sewer outfall lines in them, the ability to handle storm drain water, and all the infrastructure on them. It's a Newtown, and I talked about this with Bob, it's a Newtown in zoning name only. I mean, we're not going to name it Newtown. We're not going to name it anything. It's a part of Newman. It's just on the other side of the county line. But that's the zoning vehicle we would have to use in Merced County. We would prefer, and I think Cleve, Bob, and Gary would also prefer PUD, so we could control it more. But on Merced County, you got to go with, who you got to go with, and it's under Newtown zoning, but it wouldn't be named anything other at all. I mean, it's just you're utilizing it as a vehicle to get to the infrastructure.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Okay, turn it over to Mayor Reed.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with John.
Doug, I'd like to commend you and your family for quite a presentation and all the maps and everything you guys did. Very impressive.
Thank you.
Couple questions. Is there still a separate parcel that's directly east of F&A?
Directly, that's Stein Presses? You're talking, John, right?
Is there's
Right
a little
here?
strip right there still? Is
Yeah,
there- is
that's
there
Stein
still-
Press. It's 3 acres, Bob? 3.5 acres? 3 acres. Map, go to the Canal School Ranch subdivision map. This piece right here, John, is separate. Is
But-
separate.
So that will be right up against F&A?
F&A's wall right here.
Okay.
The F&A, Lucas Ranch 2 is already to this point. So you're talking 318 feet. From this point to that point, it's 318 feet.
Okay.
They're already got them completely up against them. They're filing, I think the map's in front of Gary now, but that's between Gary and Woodside. I think this whole second phase is right in front of Gary right now, ready to be approved. It's being done. At least that's what Woodside's telling me. That's not something Gary can tell me. I'm not part of that, so.
Okay. Cleve, is there enough room for a turning lane on Union?
I
mean,
I can't answer.
if-
I'm not sure
We're
what
not-
the
we're not
right of way
really sure
is.
yet,
We would have to look at that. I don't have that information here. You're talking about a left turn lane in the down the center.
Right, down the center.
I can't say. I'm not
If
sure
we
what
went-
that right of way
if we
is.
went with this Canal School Ranch, would there be?
There's always the option that, we change the right of way. That's not to say we can't do that, and we could, look at picking up additional right of way. Of course, depending on how you do it, it may affect this project or it may affect a future project on the south side of Inyo.
Right. As far as the Canal School Ranch, I'm still kind of undecided, but I'm leaning more towards switching that to residential. I think on the overall scheme, it might work. I agree with Paul that, there might be more truck traffic. As far as the milk trucks, they're probably going to still head up Merced because I need to wait first.
That's correct.
Before
Yeah, I
they go
didn't
to
think of that,
F&A.
John. You're right. They got to go to the scales.
They have to go to the scales, and I know a lot of trucks that go to the metal plant over there. They have to weigh too, so I'm not sure a whole lot will head out that way.
Yeah, John's correct. We don't get any traffic on Inyo at all. Nobody wants to go through there unless they want their car to vibrate to death. But
Right. But yeah, I see your
the
point
trucks
as
have to
far
weigh.
as
Yeah, John's
after-
right. They have to weigh.
If there's a brand new street, there might be a few more
But
go
not
that
that
way.
much.
But Cleve, we got Cleve at the end, don't we? As far as
Yeah.
Cleve, in the end, maybe you can just comment on what's happening with the industrial area. Maybe the commissioners don't know exactly where things at and everything. That's all I had.
Okay. Tim, I know you commented before, but you have anything else?
No, just briefly, you mentioned IBM and we were being facetious. One thing about the IBM, one thing that the founder of IBM he put it all around his whole business was think. The word think. That's what we're doing tonight. There's been a lot of input from my colleagues. I appreciate us having this joint meeting. It's an educational purpose, and it's also for us to think. There's a lot of thinking going on. I just wanted to implement that. When you brought up IBM, that was a good thing.
Yeah.
Think.
Thanks.
That's it.
Is that all?
I had one more. What about the water? Is there more wells going to be dug in the city to supply enough water, or is there?
Well, Canal School Ranch has got enough water Ernie can jump in on that and tell me, but we already have enough water for that one. When you get to Stamford Rose, when you get to the golf course and all that, no, that's put in by us. And the water quality we're testing now. There's 3 wells on the ranch. The latest well that we just put in, which John is aware of, we've already got it encased in orange so nobody runs into it. We hit 6,000 gallons a minute. That's never been done on the west side, ever. That well and the other wells, we have the quantity of water. I have been told by people that I tend to believe that when you go to LAFCO, don't go with the idea that you're going to be pumping 8,000 or 9,000 gallons of water out of the ground per minute to do your subdivision in your golf course. Utilize subsurface waters that are a problem. I mean, we can't do it for the houses, obviously, you're going to have that, but the idea of using treated wastewater to do all the landscaping, the idea of picking up storm drain water, ag tailwater during the summer, and everything we can do, we can really, this particular project can minimize a great deal like it's never been done here before, the use of water. We can really conserve it to the point that the Resource Conservation Agency very much wants to talk to us and listen to our, they've seen these ideas because you have to go to them and they really like it because in fact they're offering us grant money, pretty much give it to us because we can conserve water with this project, and they haven't seen that very, very often before. So it works good that way. That's something I forgot to bring up. Thanks, Les.
Just quickly, if I can add to that, as you know, Commissioner Atwood, excuse me, we do have a well planned in our industrial park also, which would supplement any growth in this area, whether it's industrial or residential, and project that once we get our industrial park going, that well is planned and funded within that project.
Tim, do you have anything else?
There's just a lot for us to think about. That's it.
I like that word.
Mayor, just quickly before you end, I'd like to note that
I'm not going to end it. You're
Okay.
going to get to talk.
I just want to note, though, that Glenn Lewis from F&A Dairy is here and has some comments he would like to make on this. He hasn't
Sure.
had a chance
Why
to
don't
get
you
up
do that
yet,
before
so
I-
whenever you'd like to do that.
Glenn, before I make any
Sure.
comments, why don't you go ahead and do that?
Thank you.
Thank you. I suspect you guys been filling up that new $1 million silo. Good.
Good evening. My name is Glenn Lewis. I'm the Quality Control and Safety Manager at F&A Dairy. And this is really impressive. It looks great. It really does. And F&A is all for improving the quality of life in Newman, But we do have some concerns, and some of these things we've written down, and some of them might have already been answered, but I'd just like to go down the list. We do receive milk 24/7, 365 days a year. Christmas, New Year's, you name the holiday, we got trucks going in and out. And they're right along this 318 feet. The milk receiving bay is on the east side, which is right adjacent to that street. Okay, we have trucks that are in there all the time. We're doing close to 2 million pounds of milk a day, and so the pumps are on. They're generating noise. They're diesel trucks. We're pumping out sludge. We're moving stuff in. So this is going to be an exposure for us, which is not going to be favorable as far as I can tell. These 5 people or houses, however many there are along that area, are going to get a large amount of noise just from that truck right there. Next to that receiving bay, along that side, along the east side of our plant, is where we have the major ammonia, air compressors, steam. We have 3 boilers that are right there. And we have a lot of alarms. We have systems that are alerts that are going off all the time. You get a low water alarm, that's a bell that rings. You get certain things if you have an ammonia release. You have certain things when the air pressure drops. All of those things are located along the east side of the property. It's not on the west side where the warehouse is and the coolers and the shipping bay. It's on the east side where we receive the milk. So the people that are going to be in the east side are going to get a dose of noise. Okay, it's going to be on all the time. We also have a PA system. We have turned off the PA system we had at the northernmost end of the plant because we were getting some complaints from the houses that are up there on the kitty corner to us. So mostly the sound is internalized, but you can hear it walking around the town. I walk around the town. I know I can hear when F&A is out there. So they're going to have to live with that also. If we had an ammonia leak, and we have over 10,000 pounds of ammonia on site, and we take all the precautions that are required by every official state, federal, agency known to man, but ammonia leaks do occur, and it is dangerous. And we have teams that are, to deal with this, but it is a dangerous substance. We even have minor leaks that happen all the time. I mean, you'll get a high pressure valve and there'll be a release of a small amount of ammonia. This is downwind from the prevailing winds that flow in the San Joaquin Valley. It's going to come from that ammonia area and it's going to go right across to these houses. And if I would believe if I was a homeowner over there and I started smelling ammonia, I would be nervous. And they don't have a way to gauge whether it's going to be a large amount of ammonia or if it's a small amount of ammonia. Maybe we could put up a phone number of 862-3725 in case they start getting nervous and start calling, so they don't call us.
Between 8 and 5, right?
Yeah, between 8 and 5, only 8 and 5, because there is that possibility. I mean, these little releases, and sometimes we have to drain oil out of ammonia lines because it accumulates, and there is going to be a nuisance amount. It's less than 25 ppm. It's by no means anywhere near an exposure limit which would be hazardous. However, a lot of people are very sensitive to ammonia, and some people really get nervous when they start smelling this stuff. And this is the kind of things that we need to look at, and like you said, think.
You're giving us a whole lot more to think about just in here.
This is just going that far, you know. The PA system, well, the PA system is how we page people, how we, you know, tell them that there's alerts, we need somebody to fix something, how we try to get them to sites. The PA system runs 24/7. The main employee entrance, everybody has to go in and out on this gate, right there. Because we have a guard shack, and that's how we keep track of our people. So we have around 100 employees, and we're changing shifts at all hours of the day and night. So the same trucks that go in and out of that gate, we're still having employees that are going in there. Number 6 is that when we did our expansion, the recent expansion, the Newman flange plant, we asked them when we would shut down so that we could pour the tilt-up walls, because there is such a motion from that wall, from their thumping over there and that pounding, that I know that we have floor cracks and we have wall cracks from that. And so I would wonder, and I would have you think about that also, is these foundations, that if they're going to pour these over there, are they going to be stable? Are they going to be slabs? Are they going to crack, you know, as that thumping goes along? Because that thumping can be felt a long ways off. We'll never know there's an earthquake at F&A. Never. Somebody better call me and tell me there's an earthquake, because we would ignore it. Just the thumping is always there. The lights are on. We have lights that are out there, and that is because of OSHA requires this, and they're on all night long. So I don't know how tall the wall is going to be, but I doubt if it can stop all the light that's going to be coming from the plant. So that is something to be considered, that they're not going to have dark backyards where they're going to have romantic evenings. They're going to have a lot of light in their backyard. I'm not sure whether, I think you've already addressed number 8 about the wastewater plant and the VOD, and whether those things can be absorbed within the system. That's something that I think that's definitely has to be considered, and putting in a sewer plant and taking care of the water would be a great idea. The Inyo Street itself, you're right, not a lot of trucks go down Inyo Street. My problem is that Von Renner School is directly west on Inyo, and we're going to put in all these houses right here. There's going to be kids that are going to walk down that street to go to school, or there's going to be an increased amount of traffic. Now, we may not have milk trucks that are coming in and out of the plant there, but on the west end of the plant, we have all of the trucks which are hauling the cheese out and the whey powder and bringing supplies to us. And those are running usually 5 to 6 days a week, 7 to 5, something like that, and there's a lot of traffic. There is no sidewalk in front of our plant. There's no sidewalk all the way down, you know, for that matter, for anybody to walk on. So if somebody's going to walk from this housing development and go over to Rite Aid to get an ice cream, they're going to have to walk past, you know, a lot of trucks. There's going to be a lot of traffic in there, and it's not the most safe area to walk in. I don't walk over there. I go where there's a sidewalk. Anyway, that's all I had. That's just basically what I was. We have some concerns. We really think that if this gets put in here, especially these houses along the lower area right here, we're going to have nothing but complaints, to be real honest with you. We see nothing but either complaints about the sound, the noise, the ammonia leaks, the lights. We do attract a lot of bugs, you know, because we light it up at night. Right now you drive out there and there's millions of bugs out there because they all get sucked into the light. And so we have a lot of those out there too. But that's just, you know, being the industrial plant in the area, and we're trying to, you know, be the best neighbors that we know how to be. having residential areas right next to us, I don't see that as a plus for F&A. We have real worries about that.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
I had a question for Glenn real quick, if I could.
Go ahead.
When you say ammonia, are we talking about anhydrous ammonia,
Yes.
NH3?
Mhm.
And I assume, do you use this for refrigeration purposes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We have a lot of refrigeration because once we make the cheese, you have to chill it down. And so in chilling it down, we have brine flumes, which we keep at 35 to 26, and then we have large coolers where we're keeping them 35 to 40. So yeah, we have to do that. And we're looking at expanding and putting in another cooling area, which would mean more ammonia actually instead of less. More noise.
And it'll definitely clear out your sinuses, right?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much, Glenn. That was my first thing on my list here, but then I wasn't thinking so much about the noise from F&A as I was the Newman flange. I can hear it at my house, and it's clear on the far side, on the west side of town. So I think the noise is a very important thing to consider. Number two is, correct me if I'm wrong, Cleve, but isn't this the only industrial property that we have that's entirely within the city, within the county, Stanislaus County? Isn't all of the other properties partially in Merced County? I know we have one or two in our little
There's one or
area
two in
there.
ours, and they're, trying to think, Bob, there is a portion, isn't there, right on the corner of Inyo and Canal School that is already in the city limits, or, excuse me, Inyo and L Street, right in that area that is also,
But
until
most of it on the south side is partially in Merced County.
Correct.
Okay. That was one thing, that we just don't have enough industrial property that we know with problems we've had with Merced County, so anything that's entirely within Stanislaus County, we're much better off. And the last one was, I see all this housing, and single-family housing, medium to upper scale. I don't see affordable housing. What we need here is affordable housing. People that live and work in Newman and make $10, $11 an hour can afford to buy. Maybe we're talking about apartments, condos, but I'm not talking $200,000, $250,000 houses. People just can't afford them. So for that reason, one of the reasons, I think the whole concept is great, Doug. And your golf course, I'm sorry, I don't remember, what was the first something Rose area ranch?
Stanford Rose Ranch?
Stanford Rose. That probably makes some sense, but we just need more affordable housing, and where none of the developers seem to be coming up with this. So that's my only comments, and I want to turn this over to Cleve for any comments he might have yet.
I don't think really I'm going to add anything on what has been presented tonight. I think all of it's much been said. I think you've heard views from everyone, and I'll just say I agree with all of it. How's that?
Sounds good.
Sounds like a comment from the city manager.
You're not going to be a politician.
Yeah. You did ask me to comment, though, on Commissioner Ford's comments on the industrial park. I will tell you, Commissioner Ford, I am probably just as frustrated as anybody, probably as frustrated as Norbert is with this process, and I really feel for him and what he's been through. None of us, I don't think, anticipated this as we got into it. The current problem that we are up against is the high groundwater level is really what is setting us back on a number of issues in being able to move forward with that project. We believe, we're quite certain that we have the solution to that, and that is the installation of a tile drain system, which we do have approval from the council to do. We're currently waiting for a harvest to take place back there on the ground that is agricultural ground that is there. The plan is that the tile drain system will move in immediately behind that, which will lower the water table, and as soon as we get that in and can verify that water table is lowered, we should be able to move forward with the project. I can't give you a definite date because there are still a few questions out there on exactly how that's going to happen, but we are trying to move forward with that. as soon as we can get that in, we're ready to move forward with Merced County immediately. I mean, I think we've got pretty much all the other pieces in place if we can just get that done.
And Ed, just to add on to that, I brought that up on Tuesday evening at our council meeting. And Cleve, if I recall, I know we didn't give a definite date, but we tried to be definitive within about a month. I think my colleague John mentioned about a week to harvest the corn that's out there, roughly a week, maybe a week and a half too.
Give or take.
And we gave it, give or take, the water tables would lower within a matter of days once the tile was put in. So we were kind of speculating within a 30-day period or so, just to put it within a time frame, and that's our best estimate to hope. I'm hoping. There was a term that Doug used, pit bull. Try to get the city manager to bark a little bit, but we've been pushing it, and we do feel for Norbert. We've had him before. It's a big deal for us.
Can I make another comment? The school, Von Renner is already, my understanding, pretty full. Where do we send the kids to school if it is full? And when is, with the Hearthstone or the Sherman Ranch, there's a school planned out there, what is the target date for that to alleviate some of that crowding?
I don't think there is any at the present time. The school board hasn't anything definitive. Something has to be done, but I don't think there's any particular time frame.
So
in that.
can we absorb?
Well, the immediate plan, I can't answer for the school district. I know they have plans in place to plan for all of the growth that is currently out there. Now, this is additional that I will say they don't have on their scopes right now to look at. The immediate plan to alleviate the crowding at Von Renner, of course, is in January when the new middle school opens up. That won't immediately help Von Renner, but next school year, August, part of what will happen is YOLO will then be turned into an elementary school. A K-6 elementary school is the plan, which will take some of that pressure off of Von Renner. So those plans are in the works to relieve that pressure at Von Renner, and by the start of the coming school year, that should be done. And plans are moving forward. I know the school is negotiating with the property on the Hearthstone Ranch project currently.
Anything else? Okay. Again, I want to thank you, Doug, and all your family for coming over here. It was a very good presentation, and I think enlightened all of us, and hopefully we can work together for some resolution on this. And thank you for everyone else. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn from one of the council members.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Adjourn.